Harry has finally had his HRH title stripped from the royal family website.
There are growing calls to strip Harry and Meghan of their royal titles. The New York Post is reporting that locals in the UK say enough is enough, especially after Prince Harry's disastrous BBC interview, which aired hours after he lost his appeal for taxpayer.
In America now, and we don't give a shit about you. You're not our fucking prince. You'll never be king. We hate your wife. Stay at home in your $29 million mansion. I just can't stand her. I just think she's such a phony.
Harry's digging an even bigger hole for himself here.
Well, I think he's dug so deep now, he'll strike water any day now.
William is reportedly formulating a plan to finally strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their HRH title.
Oh my God, I can't even. These two, Meghan and Harry, are the worst.
Slaughtered this weekend because there were some business cards in the back of one of her podcasts. She's still using her royal title, HRH, despite our late Queen warning her again.
It's not a financial thing. Working royals do not profit. They do not use their names to make money. It's an honour to have an HRH.
Absolutely.
So the fact that she's continued to use this HRH when they've been instructed not to, I think is absolutely infuriating in Buckingham Palace. It was agreed with Queen Elizabeth that they will not use the HRH title. That is a long-standing precedent, and there's good reason for it. Basically, the HRH is only given to working royals and senior members of the royal family.
Brothers surrounding Prince Harry and Prince William, and what this change in senior roles for Harry and Meghan means for that particular relationship.
A new poll by Find Out Now has revealed that most of the public is supporting the king in this family feud, ongoing family feud, after Harry's bombshell BBC interview. It follows the Court of Appeal's decision to not overturn the ruling on his security in the UK.
The hypocrisy is beyond anything I've ever seen.
He's duplicitous, self-centered, vile, disloyal.
It all began with whispers, tiny, quiet murmurs that slipped through the marble halls of power like smoke after a hidden fire. Nothing official, nothing written, just soft talk from people who knew things. And before anyone realized, those whispers turned into rumors, and those rumors turned into something that shook Buckingham Palace to its very core. Rumors said Buckingham Palace was secretly reviewing the titles of every royal who no longer worked for the crown, and that included Harry and Meghan. But, oh yes, you heard that right, Harry and Meghan. The couple who walked away from the royal machine were suddenly back in the palace spotlight. Not for a good reason, but because their titles, the very symbols of their royal identity, were under review.
Well, the real measure of success of both of them will be the same as it always has been. How much damage can they inflict on our royal family, on our monarchy? I said it before, I'll say it again tonight. King Charles should strip them of all their remaining titles and cast them out from any connection to the royal family. How could any of them trust them, as far as I could throw them? Because without it, they're just whining millennial windbags with a permanent victim complex, knowing that victimhood...
At first, everyone laughed it off. Oh, come on, the palace wouldn't dare, they said. But behind those golden gates, something was definitely happening. At first, people laughed it off, but soon insiders started talking. Meetings were happening behind closed doors. Royal aides were told to prepare statements. Something was brewing, and it wasn't just gossip anymore. The palace, once silent, now seemed ready to make a move that could shake the royal family like never before. The calm, polished walls of Buckingham Palace were hiding chaos. The aides were buzzing, reporters were circling, and the word on everyone's lips was title.
King Charles on his way out, Prince William is expected to take over the crown. And apparently at the top of his list is to say, "Peace out, Meghan, you're done." And he plans to formally strip Meghan Markle.
It was as if the royal family had pressed refresh and nobody knew who would survive. The update. Then the internet noticed something strange. Flight trackers showed a private jet leaving California heading straight for London. Within minutes, gossip pages lit up like wildfire. Royal watchers, journalists, even conspiracy accounts all started asking the same thing. Was Prince Harry on that plane? No entourage, no Netflix crew, no Meghan, just a mystery jet and a trail of digital breadcrumbs the palace couldn't hide. And just like that, boom, the internet exploded. One mysterious private jet leaves California, heading toward London, and the whole world suddenly turns.
I would love reconciliation with my family. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. If they don't want that.
Into detectives. Reddit threads, gossip accounts, flight trackers, everyone was convinced Prince Harry was on that plane. No cameras, no wife, no team. All just him, flying into a storm that seemed way too familiar. Speculation exploded. Was it a secret visit, a last-minute meeting with the king, or something much bigger, maybe connected to those rumors about royal titles being reviewed? Theories spread faster than Buckingham Palace could blink. And suddenly, everyone wanted to know, what was Harry running toward or running from? And that's the million-dollar question. Was Harry running to his father, or running from a crisis that was about to consume him? Because deep inside Buckingham Palace, those whispers had become meetings, and those meetings were turning into plans.
Breaking news out of London, Buckingham Palace announcing Harry and Meghan will no longer formally represent the Queen. That means they will no longer receive public funds, and they will stop using their royal titles. Those changes will take effect this spring. So Katie Nicholl is now joining.
It's my pleasure. It's a big news story. As you can imagine over here, it really has, the phone hasn't stopped ringing, put it that way.
And in terms of your initial reaction to this latest news, that in fact it feels like it's a full removal in the sense of not just senior.
But what really set all this off? What made the palace suddenly move after years of silence? To understand that you have to rewind back to the quiet, almost invisible update that started it all. It wasn't a headline or a public speech. It was a small change tucked deep inside an official royal document. Ah, yes, the update. Not a headline. Not a royal announcement, just a silent tweak on the official website, the kind of move that says more than 1,000 speeches. And that's where the storm truly began. Most people missed it, but those who noticed knew something big was coming. That tiny update was the spark. And once it caught fire, there was no going back. Someone at the palace hit update, and the digital world went into meltdown. It was like the royal version of a subtweet, quiet, clever, and cutting. Okay, so here's what sent the internet into total chaos. Buckingham Palace quietly updated its official website. No announcement, no warning, just a silent change that spoke volumes. And guess what? Harry and Meghan's profiles were suddenly pushed way down. Not just below William and Kate. That would have been expected. No, this was deeper. Their names were sitting near the bottom, right next to royals most people didn't even recognize. It was like they'd been digitally erased from the spotlight. No statement, no explanation, just moved. Can you imagine? The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, once global sensations, now buried near the bottom of the royal website, next to people the public barely even remembered existed. It wasn't an accident, it was a digital dagger. And for a family obsessed with image and hierarchy, that wasn't a small update. It was a message, a cold, calculated reminder of who's in control and who's being quietly pushed out of the royal picture. Exactly. This wasn't an IT intern's mistake. It was a message one that screamed, "You're out of the inner circle." And right when the world was still processing that, headlines exploded again. Then came the headlines that flipped everything upside down. Suddenly, major UK outlets, even the BBC, were reporting something explosive. That deep inside Buckingham Palace, serious talks were happening about royal titles and who truly deserved to keep them. This wasn't just harmless chatter anymore. Insiders claimed top advisors were debating how titles should be handled for so-called non-working royals, and everyone knew exactly who that phrase was aimed at. Tension had been simmering for years, but this was different. This was the palace drawing a line in the royal sand. British morning shows couldn't get enough of it. Experts debated, panels screamed, headlines screamed louder. Could Meghan and Harry be next? The suspense was cinematic. Then came the most chilling moment of all the calm before the storm. Inside Buckingham Palace, everything was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of eerie silence that happens before thunder. Insiders said the king wasn't reacting emotionally. He was acting strategically cold, precise, and entirely focused. The warning shot had been fired. The couple who built an empire on royal heritage now found that same heritage turning against them. One royal watcher even called it revenge wrapped in royal stationery. Every word, every move from the palace carried meaning, and this time, that meaning was danger. Then came the moment that changed everything. According to several insiders, after hearing the reports about title reviews, Harry called his father's office. The call? A disaster. Voices raised, tempers flared, and within hours, boom! Flight trackers picked up a private jet leaving California, heading straight to London. The timing was way too perfect to be coincidence. The internet went feral. Hashtags like #RoyalCrisis and #HarryFliesHome flooded timelines. Theories spiraled. Some said it was a secret reconciliation. Others whispered it was a desperate attempt to stop what had already begun. By nightfall, thousands of people were watching the jet's every move in real time. A sleek Gulf Stream leaving Santa Barbara, slicing through the night sky toward the UK. As sleek, the timing beyond suspicious. Only hours after the palace rumors about title reviews exploded, this plane was reportedly in the air. Coincidence? Nobody believed that. The tabloids went into overdrive. The Daily Express hinted it was connected to the Sussex Circle, while Radar Online claimed Harry himself was on board, alone, tense, and avoiding all cameras. No Meghan, no Netflix crew, no smiles or hand-holding. Just one man flying into the storm he helped create. And that image, Harry, alone, flying into London with the world watching, was haunting. This wasn't a royal visit. It was a showdown. By dawn, photographers were already camped at Heathrow, hoping to capture the picture that would define the crisis. The prince returning to defend his legacy. Online, the reactions split the world in two. Some said he was finally doing the right thing, going home to fix what he broke. Others, they were ruthless. Too little, too late. Even polls showed that the majority of Brits sided with the king. The tide had turned. And the palace knew it. The crown didn't need to strike twice, it just had to let people wonder if it would. That uncertainty did all the damage it needed. Because while the world tracked Harry's jet like a reality show finale, King Charles was already 3 steps ahead inside Clarence House, behind those heavy doors and polished smiles. He reportedly held what insiders called a strategic review. Translation: a secret meeting about who still belongs inside the royal circle and who's about to be cut out of it for good. Sources say senior quarters and top legal advisors were in the room, maybe even Privy Council members. It wasn't loud, it wasn't emotional, but the message was clear. This wasn't about family anymore. This was about the institution. Business over blood. That phrase, business over blood, became the headline. This wasn't a father dealing with his son. This was a CEO managing a brand. Inside those rooms, one word kept echoing: streamlining. It sounded innocent, but to those who understood palace language, it was the sword. Streamlining meant trimming, removing anyone who no longer served the royal machine. It was the same word whispered when Andrew lost his honors, and now it was being said again, only this time it pointed toward Harry and Meghan. Royal insiders said it plainly: this isn't revenge, it's optics. Because in a monarchy built on image, relevance is power. And Harry and Meghan had started to monarchio, threaten that balance. The king wanted to protect what mattered most, the institution, not the individuals. Apparently, the palace wasn't acting alone. They'd called in the big guns. Constitutional experts, legal minds, political strategists, and by morning, what started as gossip had turned into a national debate. Major UK outlets began reporting that constitutional advisors were quietly reviewing how royal titles should be handled for non-working members. And that's when things went nuclear. Parliament itself started paying attention. Yes, Parliament. That's when the gossip turned into history in the making. MPs started revisiting an old proposal, the Bob Seeley Bill of 2022, which would give Parliament the power to strip royal titles from anyone who no longer served officially. Back then, it seemed like a fantasy. Now, it felt like prophecy. Every news channel from the BBC to Sky News was asking the same thing. Could the monarchy really take away the Sussex's titles? It was becoming a full-blown constitutional moment. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Montecito was in crisis mode. In other words, this wasn't just royal drama anymore, it was about to become royal history. Back then, that proposal felt like nothing more than symbolism, a political gesture that would never actually happen, but now, suddenly, it felt real. Political commentators started calling it the Crown's quiet correction, a fancy way of saying the monarchy was finally cleaning up its own mess. Of course, officials tried to play it cool. They insisted that any meetings between the king and his advisors were just routine constitutional business, but no one was buying that, and honestly, who would? The timing was too perfect. Every move, every headline, every update felt like part of a royal chess game. Across the ocean in Montecito, Meghan's team reportedly scrambled into action. According to multiple entertainment outlets, her representatives quickly released statements trying to calm things down, saying the talk about titles was a private family matter, not a public dispute. But online, the damage was already done. Exactly. The internet doesn't forgive, and it never forgets. Comments flooded social media. You can't monetize royalty and then call it unfair treatment. She's relentless. She's shameless. She's exhausting. The tone had changed. The sympathy was gone. For years, Meghan had played the narrative game while interviews, documentaries, podcasts. But now, for the first time, she wasn't the storyteller, she was the story. Then came the jet rumors. Online flight trackers suddenly spotted a private route leaving California for London right as the story blew up and social media exploded with speculation. Was Harry heading home? Was this damage control or desperation? There was no confirmation. But that didn't stop royal watchers from dissecting every frame, every timestamp, every possible clue, and the world just couldn't look away. Every pixel of that flight was analyzed like it held the future of the monarchy. Inside the palace, correspondents described the mood as tense but controlled. The calm before the storm, the kind that always hits when the royal family's dirty laundry starts spilling into daylight. Inside Buckingham, people were walking on eggshells, every corridor echoing with unspoken tension, every aide wondering what comes next, because everyone knew if the king stripped Harry's title, nothing would ever be the same again.